Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, let's chat about those points changes for destruction in the latest edition of the General's Handbook, the General's Handbook 2021, the first General's Handbook for Warhammer Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. These are the points that we're going to start at for the brand new edition. So what I want to do today is we've now seen all the points revealed on the Facehammer live stream. You can go check that out at Facehammer if you want to. And also on the Warhammer Age of Sigmar group that I run on Facebook, you can find at the top there'll be a pinned post by Dan from AOS Shorts who has compiled all the points into a nice, easy to read spreadsheet document. So you can find all of that there. Anyway, what I want to do today is I want to talk about all the armies and the points changes that it made and how it sort of affects the edition and the army in the edition going forward. Obviously, we do not know the whole picture just yet. We are still waiting on what is likely a rather substantial FAQ at the start of a new edition. And so I want to talk a little bit about the points and how this affects the army though, because points are important. Obviously, if something is a really weak war scroll and it costs a lot, it's not that great a unit. But obviously, if it, is not the greatest war scroll, but it's dirt cheap, maybe it is a useful unit within the army. And on the other side, maybe something's a really good war scroll, but maybe it's either too cheap, so it's, maybe a little bit able to be abused and good for the army in general, or it's too expensive. But then you've got to look around it as well, that maybe that unit might be really expensive, but the rest of the army is really cheap, so maybe you can squeeze in that expensive unit and build cheap units around it. I think there's a lot to consider when we look at armies and how the points changes now in the new edition. And so today we're just going to give them all a nice little grade. We're going to talk about some of the winners and the losers from each particular army. And yeah, it's worth remembering as well that about 5 or 10 points is generally the average the whole game went up on. Most units saw about a 5-ish% increase across the game, and so that's something to consider. So you always, if something goes up 5 or 10 points, it really probably hasn't gone up in the actual edition proper. Anyway, let's get cracking onto it. Let's look at all those destruction armies. So, first army for destruction, the Gloomspite Gitz. I think we're going to have to go with a C- on this one. First of all, there are no drops in the army, so we can knock that straight out of the way. There are a few units that do not move, though, points-wise. So we do have the Dankhold Trogboss Skitter Strand Arachnarok Spider, the Madcap Shaman, the Dankhold Troggoth Spider Riders, and Squighoppers all don't move in points at all. However, I do think there's some interesting changes to be made. So, it's worth noting the Squighoppers, while I say they don't actually move in points at all, they actually technically do, because now you can only get a 10-man unit of them as their minimum size. Now, this is maybe an issue for Squighoppers because of their base size and how they work. It might actually be to a little bit of their detriment, and the unit actually I wish they did this to probably didn't get it. Now, before we talk about price hikes and stuff like that across the army, most of the army probably went up that 5 or 10 points you expect to go up, so there's definitely not some bad things in there. However, I don't think they helped a lot of the units. You gave like extra models in units to things like Squig Herd, which is cool. That's a really great one, but you also gave it to, the Squighoppers, who probably aren't going to make very good use of it, but then you might have been able to redeem it if you gave it to the Borngrot Bounders as a minimum unit size as well, hoping to make those units larger. And you didn't do that, so I really don't think Gitz get a lot out of this, and they actually lose more because you put it on units that probably didn't need it and not actually giving it to the units that probably could make use of those unit size increases. On top of this, for an army that's wanting to bring, its big horse to the table, they really did punish the 2 shooter and stabber units, putting an extra 20 points on each of those. That just seems like a unnecessary sort of tax on units that, while yes, I get that they get to be, 20, 40, 60 now, it's not something I don't think that maybe ever worried. You can chew through 60 grots like absolutely nothing with very basic combat troops. We did see points increases, probably the biggest one for Scuttletide. It's a good endless spell and it went up. Maybe 55 points is a little bit harsh, but it probably was expected to go up along with all endless spells, just how we've gone for that. And we did see increases in the Mangler Squig and the Loon Boss on Mangler Squig, you know, some of our better monsters, but I don't think maybe we need to go as heavy-handed as we did. I think Gitz maybe could have stayed like almost exactly at their points value and been quite fine, because it maybe would have put them at, you know, that sort of competitive level that they've really lacked in recent times. All in all, I don't think it's necessarily terrible for Gitz. I just don't think they did anything to help them either. This is an army that's been floating around the bottom-ish of, you know, the meta. Maybe they're not quite as bad as some other armies, but they're definitely like right down the bottom of the middle. And so nothing was done to actually help or rectify anything to get them up and fighting against some of the bigger armies. Next, we have the Ogor Mawtribes. I think B- is pretty accurate here. Much like the Gloomspite Gitz, there's no units that actually got decreases across the board, and you did see a lot of 5 and 10 point increases where we thought maybe that was going to be the thing. There are some interesting things to talk about with Ogres though. First of all, Lead Belchers went up to a minimum size of 4 models. Man, this is annoying that I only got 2 models inside my Feast of Bones box, but I'll find another 2 models. Ogre Gluttons went up to 6 models, and I know some people are going to say that, oh, but that means now they can't all fight, you know, weird coherency rules and stuff like that. However, this does mean you can get up to 18 Ogre Gluttons, which was, you know, a popular thing of running 2 big slabs of Glutton, and that's a lot of meat on the table. Those Ogre Gluttons are going to take some serious shifting. Not to mention just the board size that they actually take up for such a small amount of models is massive. We did see some other things sort of change as well. We saw a lot of our monsters generally go up in points. Frostlord and Thundertusk, Huskgod and Thundertusk being the 2 biggest increases in the army. One might suspect this is maybe, okay, they got all the additions for monsters, but also remembering they can unleash hell with their shooting attack and stuff like that as well. So maybe they've got, you know, a little bit more there to increase. They're, of course, still actually cheaper than the Frostlord and Stonehorn, who did also go up 30 points as well, and his Huskard variation up 20. As mentioned, we did see the Ogre Gluttons increase in their unit size, but they also did go up 20 points for every 3 as well. And we saw things, you know, generally go up across the board, as mentioned, that like 5 or 10 points. Iron Guts went up. Lead Belchers, of course, went up due to the unit size increasing. Mournfang went up, which is maybe not needed, but Mournfang maybe have a place in an army now with that 2-4 sort of sizing they can do. Iron Blast and Scrap Launchers just going up that generic sort of 10 points. I think Ogres came out fairly well from this. They definitely are one of the armies that maybe didn't get anything overly beneficial to them, but they definitely didn't get that many points increases that you would say is going to change too many lists out there. You might have to maybe just change up how you're running that monster truck army a little bit, and you're still definitely able to do that Gutbuster heavy force with the large blobs of the Gluttons at its core. So all in all, I think Ogres come out really well, just nothing to particularly write home about. Next, Orruk Warclans. I think a B+ is in order here. The army definitely came out pretty well, with generally the whole army across the board receiving that 5 or 10 point increase across the army. And we did even see a few little drops in the Maniac Weirnob dropping 10 points and the Orruk Ardboys dropping 5. Though I guess for the Orruk Ardboys, I guess the one little disappointment is they stay at a minimum size unit of 5, meaning you can only get 15 on the table. It would have been nice to see these as, you know, like 10, 20, 30s perhaps. Some of the big changes, Godrak and the Mega Boss and Maw-Crusher both went up. I think this is nothing surprising to anyone. With some of the abilities in game, and now to just get +1 save and make these, you know, monsters a 2+ save, I definitely think they're worthwhile going up the points. They're still great use on the tabletop. They're definitely some amazing models that will do a lot in the game. And I think these points increases with all the new abilities, plus the generic sort of increase across the game, is pretty okay in all honesty. Brutes are maybe one of the interesting ones, going up at 20 points, though we do have a few things that go up around these points in the army. The Savage Big Boss and the Orruk Mega Boss both going up as well. Potentially the Mega Boss, you know, with his heals and stuff like that he can do from the heroic actions, etc. He can be pretty deadly now, but 20 points maybe not needed on top of them, and maybe that's what stops this being able to get an A for its rating. But there's not a lot to be upset about if you're an Orruk player. I think generally you're probably going to play a very similar army to what you're currently playing. Not much is going to change. You might just drop a unit or 2 out of your army list and just keep playing how you are. Orruk's come out really well out of this, and there's really not much more to say than that. And lastly, for destruction, the Sons of Behemat, our all-monster Gargan army. For me, a triple+. I think I haven't been more excited by any army than Sons of Behemat in all of these points updates. For me, there is one thing that makes this, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. But for starters, we saw the points decrease on the Man Crusher Gargants and the War Stomper, both by 10, though the triple pack of the Man Crushers, a full-size unit, their massive regiment, went up 10 points. So you can, you're paying a few more points if you're buying the big unit of them now. And the Gatebreaker Mega Gargant did go up 35 points, putting him at 525, making him outright the most expensive Gargant in the force. Now, this is all well and good. I like that they sort of can play around with that area there. You've not got a very big room of points to play with the Gargants. But let's talk about the fact that all the Mega Gargants are now Battle Line Leader Behemoth. This is amazing because in a 2,000 point game, I can play with 4 Mega Gargants and nothing else. This is exactly what I wanted from the army. This is what people have been crying out for. Some people did not like the Man Crusher models and just wanted to play all new cool Mega Gargants. I'm one of those people. Can't wait. This is going to be absolutely amazing. Could not be more excited for a faction than I am for Gargants. And boy howdy, are we going to be getting a Gargant army for the channel at some point this year, because this is just awesome. Can't wait. Should be a ton of fun playing Gargant armies. I can't wait to play against a 4 Mega army. It's going to be heaps of fun. And so, what are your thoughts in general? I'd love to hear from everyone here on what their thoughts are. What's happened to your favorite army? How have your armies changed if you do play a destruction army? Love to hear just, your general thoughts and your general feelings about everything that's happened with your army. It's, of course, maybe a little bit upsetting that points have gone up and maybe you've lost some of your new rules or some battalions in the game, but I want to hear, what you're planning to do with all the changes, how you're planning to run your army, your favorite army now in destruction. Let us know in the comments below. Well, thank you all for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, while you're at it, why not come chat more with us on Discord? We've got a link in the description of the video below to our Discord server. You can come chat with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel in various different ways. First of all, to our Patreon members, Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, MJ, and Dyna226. Thank you to, as well, our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, The Real Zeot, Chris Wallace, Turriot12, Vinny, and Loch Lorick. And a special thanks to our artist who does all the channel art for us, Lady Witchfox Art, thank you very much. And to our Discord moderator, Xmorphic, you do a fantastic job on Discord for us as well. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. If you'd like to help support on Patreon or YouTube member, or help support the channel in another way, you can do so by following one of the links in the description of the video to Patreon or YouTube members, or go buy some Sinful Gaming merch from our Teespring store, also linked in the video's description. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.